The effects of loss of the Ayrton Senna. Welcome to our channel. Ayrton Senna is a racing legend and for many years was the face of Formula One racing. Senna was a record-setting driver who thrived regardless of the weather conditions or who he took on in a race. Tragically, Senna passed away far too early in a car accident. Nearly 30 years after his death, Senna's legacy and the impact his death had on racing lives on forever. There is only one way that someone can make a list involving the best Formula One racers and not include Ayrton Senna. Said list would need to have a disclaimer that Senna can't be included. That's what Senna meant to the racing world. It would be like leaving Michael Jordan off a list of the most dominant basketball players. A Brazilian driver, Senna bullied the competition during his 11 years in Formula One. Senna won 3 Formula One championships and totaled 41 victories in 162 entries. His rivalry with teammate Alain Prost is among the greatest between two individuals in sports history. From 1988 to 93, Senna and Prost were responsible for 5 of the 6 Formula One World Championships. Ayrton Senna had just turned 44 when the tragic events of May 1, 1994 arrived. Racing at the San Marino Grand Prix in Italy, Senna suffered fatal injuries in a horrific crash. Senna's car was going 191 miles per hour when it left the track and hit a concrete wall at 145 miles per hour. He sustained fatal skull fractures, brain injuries, and a ruptured temporal artery in the accident. Although he officially died at Bologna's Maggiore Hospital, Italy said he died 4 hours earlier when his car hit the wall. Following the accident, Senna's car was returned to the pit lane, where an unknown individual requested the black box to be removed from the car. Following his death, Brazil declared 3 days of national mourning as Senna's body was flown back home. Over 3 million people lined the streets and many more watched on TV as Senna's funeral was carried out. At the next race in Monaco, the FIA decided to leave the first 2 grid slots empty and paint them the Austrian and Brazilian flags in the driver's honor. The Williams F1 team were caught up in court cases, largely under the charge of manslaughter, for many years following the crash. Failure of the steering column was the eventual declared cause for the crash, leaving Patrick Head responsible. But due to this being declared 13 years after the crash happened, Head was not liable to face any charges. Adrian Newey, the man who had designed the car Senna was driving, gave this quote, "The honest truth is that no one will ever know exactly what happened. There's no doubt the steering column failed, and the big question was whether it failed in the accident or did it cause the accident. It had fatigue cracks and would have failed at some point. There is no question that its design was very poor. However, all the evidence suggests the car did not go off the track as a result of the steering column failure. If you look at the camera shots, especially from Michael Schumacher's following car, the car didn't understeer off the track. It overstated, which is not consistent with the steering column failure. The rear of the car stepped out and all the data suggests that happened. Ayrton then corrected that by going to 50% throttle, which would be consistent with trying to reduce the rear stepping out. And then, half a second later, he went hard on the brakes. The question then is, why did he rear step out? The car bottomed much harder on that second lap, which again appears to be unusual because the tire pressure should have come up by then, which leaves you expecting that the right rear tire probably picked up a puncture from debris on the track. If I was pushed into picking out a single most likely cause, that would be it. Following the blame falling at his door, Patrick Head blamed driver error for the cause of the crash, a theory also agreed by Damon Hill. Meanwhile, Newey says a tire failure could have caused the crash, caused by debris on the circuit. Whatever the cause of the crash, the missing black box raised many eyebrows across the F1 world. The big question of course being, why would anyone insist on moving and destroying it if they had nothing to hide? I'll leave the above thought for you to draw your own conclusions from. Senna wasn't the only racer who passed away during the San Marino Grand Prix. Austria's Roland Ratzenberger died during qualifying after he suffered a rupture in the aorta and a basilar skull fracture. Formula One was never the same after Ayrton Senna's death. The deaths of Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger had a lasting impact on Formula One racing. Formula One worked to implement better helmets as well as the head and neck support. The HANS prevents rapid and excessive head movement during accidents, according to the National. Cars have been safer and the cockpit has been opened more to prevent drivers from being trapped inside. Formula One also added more medical staffers and revamped the tracks. The 26th-year anniversary of Ayrton Senna was on May 1st. Formula One's official Twitter account, as well as other F1 figures, paid tribute to the legend with the hashtag Senna Sempre, or Senna Always. Whatever the cause, the weekend of the San Marino Grand Prix will go down as one of the darkest in motor racing history. In the words of the late great Murray Walker, it was the blackest day for Grand Prix racing. We hope you liked the video. Before leaving, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.